Welcome. I am Darth Vadad. Join me as I remember things I loved when I was younger and still love today. One of the first Spider-Man comics I ever read was one I didn't own. When I was a kid, I found a coverless comic book at the home of a woman who babysat me and my sister one summer. Written by Bill Mantlo, with art by Jim Mooney and Frank Springer, 1979's Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 29, grabbed me instantly on the first page, showing Peter Parker in a library at the mercy of a new villain, Carrion. At the time, I didn't have a chance to read the entire story, but I recently read them on Marvel Unlimited. Most of the action takes place in issues 29, 30, and 31, but Carrion confronts Peter Parker at the end of issue 28, after stalking him from behind the scenes for a few issues. Despite featuring Carrion on the cover, issue 28 mostly deals with the conclusion of Spider-Man's previous adventure, in which he teams up with Daredevil. Peter has been busy for a couple days trying to derail a plot to bomb New York City by a Magia crime family villain called the Masked Marauder. While suffering from a badly sprained ankle and temporary blindness, he nevertheless manages to stop the bomb while Daredevil takes down the Masked Marauder and his goons. Our hero returns to his apartment to discover that someone has trashed it and left behind a threatening message in red dust. Though Peter's friends are relieved to find out he's okay, the potential danger has everyone on edge. Peter accepts an offer from his friend Hector to crash at his place before meeting up that night at the Empire State University Library. Hector is publicly known to be the White Tiger, Marvel's first Latino hero, created by Bill Mantlo and George Perez. When Peter arrives at the library, he finds Hector unconscious on the floor with another message in red dust reading, "Ashes to ashes, Parker." Before he can react, Carrion attacks, accusing him of murder. The villain somehow knows Peter is Spider-Man, even though they've never met before. The issue ends with Hector's girlfriend, Holly, arriving to witness the fight. Issue 28 is also notable because it features some of Frank Miller's earliest work as an artist, before he became the regular penciler on Daredevil. Issue 29 opens with Carrion hoisting Peter aloft by the throat over Hector's still unconscious body. The red dust now spells out "Dust to Dust" and serves as the issue's title. Still hurting from his previous adventure, Peter barely manages to survive the fight and seems totally outmatched by Carrion. The villain exhibits a wide variety of powers, including strength, levitation, rudimentary telekinesis, a disintegrating touch, intangibility, and teleportation, the last of which he employs to avoid a lunge by Peter, leaving our hero to fall out a second-story window. The White Tiger regains consciousness too late to help, but instead takes Peter to the campus infirmary. After leaving the infirmary with some of his friends, including former bully Flash Thompson, Peter bumps into a student by the name of Randy Vale, who turns out to be working with Carrion. Meanwhile, back at Peter's apartment, several supporting cast members, including Mary Jane Watson, Harry Osborn, Liz Allen, and Betty Brant, have cleaned the place up. Peter avoids going inside, fearing Carrion could attack and endanger his friends. Instead, he decides to wander the campus out in the open, hoping to get Carrion to attack. The White Tiger decides to watch over him from the rooftops, but is ambushed by Vale, now outfitted with a glider costume and calling himself the Darter. With the second hero distracted, Carrion appears and engages Parker, who finally dons his Spider-Man costume for the first time, a full 14 pages into the issue. Carrion leads him to the gymnasium building, taunting him for failing to graduate due to a missing gym credit the previous term. The villain's teleportation gives him an edge, because Peter's spider sense seems not to recognize Carrion as a threat. The White Tiger and Darter crash the fight just before Carrion accuses Spider-Man of murdering Gwen Stacy and Professor Miles Warren. Issue 30's cover shows Spidey bouncing off a basketball backboard to get to Carrion, which got me thinking about how little Peter uses his web shooters in this story. It's odd because there are several times when he could put himself in a less vulnerable position with a timely web line. But maybe writer Bill Mantlo wanted him to be totally overmatched to ratchet up the drama. Inside, the gymnasium fight continues, and we get some exposition through word and thought bubbles to catch us up on what really happened to Gwen Stacy and Miles Warren, the creepy professor whose unhealthy obsession with the dearly departed Gwen started the recurring clone storylines that have popped up in Spider-Man stories throughout the years. We're told about events in Amazing Spider-Man where Warren became the Jackal and recognized the errors of his ways before he died. Darter and the White Tiger continue to tussle while Peter shows just how unfamiliar he is with the gymnasium building by taking a door that leads to the swimming pool instead of outside. Spidey perseveres but can't get the upper hand against Carrion. When Peter finally tries using his web shooter, Carrion simply disintegrates the web. Peter is momentarily saved when Darter misses the White Tiger and slams headlong into his master. Before the heroes can escape, Carrion takes down White Tiger and knocks Spidey out with his strangely multi-purpose red dust. Carrion leaves the bumbling Darter behind and takes Peter to his stereotypical evil genius lab. There he monologues for a bit before revealing on the final page that he is the clone of Miles Warren. Concluding the story, issue 31 gets even weirder. Carrion claims to have Warren's memories and admits to sharing his insanity. He reveals yet another of his many powers is telepathy. He explains his zombie-like appearance and incredible powers are the result of cooking too long in the clone casket, as he calls it, before being freed by Randy Vale, whom he helped create the technology he uses as Darter. Carrion goes full mad scientist, using Peter's cells to clone a giant spider-powered amoeba, which he unleashes on the shackled Spidey. He's inadvertently saved by Darter, who arrives to confront Carrion for having reneged on a deal to give him Spider-Man's powers. In yet another horrific image, Carrion kills Vale by dissolving his flesh with the red dust, leaving behind only a skull. Despite the arrival of the White Tiger, the battle continues until the lab is set ablaze. Carrion is eventually defeated by his own creation, the spider amoeba. As it and the fire consume him, he laments killing Darter, the only person who could have helped him. An exhausted Spidey escapes the building and finally collapses in freshly fallen snow, ending one of the weirder Spider-Man stories I've ever read. Carrion's freak of science background combined with his zombie-like appearance are a jumble of B-movie tropes. He completely outmatches Peter Parker, but our hero overcomes the odds as usual. What really stands out to me is how the Spectacular Spider-Man book was so much about Peter's supporting cast and guest stars like Daredevil and White Tiger. It just goes to show that even one of the greatest superheroes sometimes needs a little help from his friends. Do you have a favorite Spider-Man story, or one that hooked you early on? Feel free to share it below. Last but not least, I'd like to give a shout out to Coy Jandro, a fellow comic fan whose podcast for Dragon Wagon Radio called Coycast is a weekly delight. Check it out if you like people who love comics. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, tap the like button and subscribe for more Darth Vadad videos, or consider joining my Patreon page at www.patreon.com/DarthVadad. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.